The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey geniuses, good morning. So I have my brand new Keurig coffee maker we just got last week, and I'm excited because every day I get this like new flavor of coffee. And so I got my coffee ready. We're going to sit back and we're doing an open forum today. So good morning, Randy. Good to see Lori. Yeah, I've got hazelnut. So very good. So if you get a chance, I won't put my affiliate link in for Keurig, but it's a great little coffee maker if you want to get that extra boost of caffeine that you need at night and in the morning. So good to see you, Larry. Good to see you, Quentin. So everybody, do an audio check real quick. How's my audio coming in? Okay. Good. All right, thanks, Richard. Good. Well, so here's the and I'll have record in just a minute here. But here's the idea of the forum, because this is a brand new process we're putting in place. As you guys know, the Sales Mastermind is a pretty strict curriculum. I'm pretty intense with that. There's a lot of information because I'm looking to build you a six-figure business, and you don't do that by just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and having a conversation and just kind of beating around the bush or or kind of bantering back and forth. And I think that's great, and that's why we're here now. So we want the forum to be open, and it really determines the way that you want to go is the way that we're going to go. So as much as we're in control of teaching you sales during the month, you're in control of the forum. So whatever you want to learn, you got to come prepared to these forums, bringing your tough questions, because I'm bringing the top marketers in the planet to you to answer those questions. And one of those top marketers, good friend of mine, as well as a hero in the local marketing space, Brian. I'm going to do a quick sound check with you as well. Are you there, Brian?
Hey, David, can you hear me?
Perfectly. Everybody hear Brian? Everybody say, hey, Brian, good to see you. All right.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David. And hero may be a little much, but thanks for having me. Glad to be a friend for sure.
Yeah. How many of you have actually had Brian's courses or training or been on Brian's webinars? How many?
I see a few here. Hey, Richard, Elizabeth,
yeah, Quentin, yeah.
Mike.
Yes,
Mike,
lots. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good group on here.
Yeah,
for sure.
I talked to him on Skype. Wow, Richard actually talked to you on Skype. He gets to talk to the man. Been on Brian's auto webinar. Yeah, I heard it's a fantastic training. I'm a first timer, so Ben, good. Well, Brian, meet Ben, Brian.
Hey,
so,
nice to meet you.
Brian is, I'll let Brian give a quick kind of background of who he is, but he actually started before I did in local marketing. So just to give you some of the tenure, some of the expertise.
But David's older than me, I think, guys. So I'm all good. Let me clarify that.
So just know that that you are in very capable hands at this point. And probably you don't want to be anywhere else right now than either on your phone or in front of your computer listening to us. So make sure you write down your questions. We'll get to every single one we can. We're going to go about 50 minutes here, and it's all going to be determined on you. So if you don't have literally $10,000 a month in revenue coming in, you better have some tough questions to ask us, because you've got some tough issues ahead of you. Because if you're not making $10,000 a month, well, there's some issues or some problems that we can easily fix for you. So all this is about you. So I'm excited that you're here, Brian. We're going to have a great time. And we also have on the line our staff, Shay, our mastermind manager, as well as Tom. And so they'll be answering your questions as well, too. All right, so I'm going to click record. Welcome, and we'll get going. Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to our Sales Mastermind Forum. I'm incredibly excited that you're here. We are stoked to literally be bringing you the top experts in the world when it comes to local marketing. And those of you that are in the Sales Mastermind or even Genius Mastermind, you know that we've got a pretty strict curriculum of step-by-step strategies that are proven. Hundreds of people have gone before you to build incredible incomes and really make a difference in the local marketplace by helping businesses. And when it comes to sales, that is literally the keystone of your business. If you don't have a sales and marketing system, you don't have a business. And our goal is to make sure that you've got that in place. And so I want to step outside our typical strategy sessions and our typical training to bring you an open forum where the platform is yours to come up to the mic and ask all the tough questions you want. And if I don't have the answer or Brian doesn't have the answer, we will certainly get it for you. So this is your time to build your business. So let's roll up our sleeves, and I want to give everybody a warm welcome for Brian Anderson. Brian, you there?
Yeah, thank you very much, David. Appreciate you letting me come on today. Thanks.
Hey, my pleasure. You're such an inspiration to my business. You're not only a great friend, but a great mastermind partner. And Brian and I literally almost once a week or once every other week share our trials, our difficulties, our strategies to really help each other take it one step further. We're always getting advice for each other. So when it comes to a mastermind, there's no better guy to bounce things off with Brian. So Brian, for those that are brand new to who you are, could you just give we're both talkers. So we're natural sales guys.
You know what that really means, you guys, is David knows I talk as much or more than him, and he's just letting you know in advance. That's a nice way of saying Brian has a big mouth, is what it really means. But,
so what we want to do is we'll try to keep our answers short. So make sure if you ask yes or no questions, it's a lot easier for us to get to multiple questions. So put it in the chat box. We'll read the question out loud, then we'll answer it. But Brian, could you just give just a brief background of who you are and what you do for those that haven't never really trained with you before?
Sure. So my background is I've got a computer science undergrad and an MBA in marketing. I started in technology, I guess, in internet-based stuff at the beginning, literally when the graphical web came out. I started flipping domains in 94, I guess, and I had my first local client. I didn't really think of it as SEO or local or anything. I want to say it was 95, late 05. It was my roommate at the time. Dad was a dentist. And funny enough, I don't think I ever got any other dentist for years and years. But I then went down the corporate path. I was in software marketing, and I actually created the search program at a couple software companies. And then eventually I grew tired of it. Like many of you, I wanted to do my own thing. I left. I built a local search practice to a couple hundred clients, and then I sold it to a company that I used to have. Actually, I used to work for the CEO of this company I sold it to. And I then started back over again in 2009, and I've been rebuilding my business around only clients that are at least $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and most of my clients now are in the $4,000 to $6,000 a month range. And it's been part of my goal to not put myself in a position again to have an army of $300 to $500 clients, which is kind of what I had before, and I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. So now it's 2013. I'm very focused on automotive as a niche. I have 11 franchise dealers right now at an average price of $5,000. I have 2 other retail franchises with 100 plus locations each. Those are $300 and $400 a month clients. And then I have some attorneys and some cosmetic surgeons, probably like some of you guys. So if you had to ask me what is my focus, like when I think of David, I think right now, he's the guy I call about everything to do with reputation. I'm more of a jack of all trades kind of generalist. I would say reputation is probably my weakest area. I focus mostly on search, social media, and mobile. So that's it, David.
Nice. Now, you have something that I think is really differentiates you from anybody else online, including myself, and that is that you just don't are every single day in the marketplace doing it like we are, which is very rare. You've got a lot of people that create trainings or create systems or software, but they just don't do it every single day. As a matter of fact, most of them have never even tried out their own software or use it. But you have not only do that, but you actually go after high-end stuff, and very few people that I know can say that they've got a client that pays $30,000 a month, and you actually have clients that don't just pay $4,000 or $5,000, but over $10,000 and even $20,000 a month to you. So when it comes to building a business fast, and more importantly, understanding sales technique and strategies, and going after big customers, Brian aces everybody. So I want to make sure that the questions you're asking that we're going to be fielding right now aren't questions that are about what do you do at 5:23 on Tuesday, even though you can ask that question. But you've got a chance to really talk to us about the big opportunities. And all it takes is one customer. And you can easily put your sales over $100,000 a year. Just one customer. I know I've done it. Brian's done it. And so we want to make sure that everybody has a unique advantage that's on this call than anybody else that's not on the call, because you're hearing it and you're getting the inside strategies to actually go and implement right away while everybody else is still trying to figure it out. And one of the things I just want to point out is Brian mentioned franchises. And it's just as easy to close a big sale as a small sale. It's like just as easy to put on ugly clothes in the morning as this really great clothes. It takes just almost as much time. And when you're dealing with the franchise, typically speaking, you're going to be dealing with one person that is in charge of multiple offices. So you could literally have a $10,000 check a month from one company dealing with one person because they have multiple locations that they're dealing with. So Brian, just to kind of get things started off as a basic topic, talk about the franchise and the opportunity where most people are trying to do the short game. They're going after the $300, $400, $500 when you're going after the $3,000 to $5,000, and then how big of an opportunity and how most people are missing the franchise system and process of selling.
No, for sure, David. I mean, the franchise system, and I will admit, I started out at the $300 level, $300 to $400. I have a franchise client with 102 locations in the U.S., Canada, and Northern Ireland. And I think they have one in Dubai. And I'm getting roughly, it varies a little bit by location, but $350 on average for each of those. And so the model was, I pitched the CEO. Basically local search, and I wanted one check from these guys. I wanted it really easy, and I learned a lot about franchises with these guys because he's like, look, I don't collect that money from them. What I'll do is endorse you and do everything but make them sign up with you. And it took about 9 months for me to get virtually every location, because the first day I think I landed 30 or 40 sales. He let me speak at their national convention. So I took a top-down approach where I took the VP, of marketing, if you will, director of marketing, and then she and the franchise CEO and I met 2 or 3 times, talked about the value proposition. We, talked about what I would do for them. They'd had some past experiences with search marketers that were poor, and I just said, look, this is what we're going to do. It's very laser focused. This is a very finite, keyword set, and what you need is very simple. And I'll guarantee you, if we don't get them number 1 in their market within 90 days, we'll just work for them until we do. And he said, you'll put that in writing? I said, sure. And so we were able to get number 1 in like 30 days, because what you'll find with franchises is many of them are in non-competitive terms. You're not going to have a franchise of personal injury lawyers. You're going to have a franchise in the retail space, the restaurant space, and typically the words they want to be found for are almost equivalent to basket weaving. They're very, very simple. I kid you not. It's like I think when I first started playing with this franchise, and I wasn't even using Magic Submitter on them, I used Fiverr gigs, 3 or 4 Fiverr gigs, and I would make their site number 1 in like a week or 2. It was just that easy, and they love it. So the takeaway on franchises is you can sell a deal once, you can then explode your income. So even if it was a $400 deal, let's say it's a 20 location franchise, because now it's 8,000, that's 96,000 a year, and you have the exact recipe of what to do for all the locations. You make it very, very cookie cutter. You send the same type of reports. You send the same update once a month. Obviously tweaked for that location, and all you do is you leverage what you learn in one area with the other ones. It's very simple, and it's for those of you that are scared to go after $5,000 or $10,000 clients. The neat thing about a franchise is you're going after very simple clients. There's just a lot of them. It's sell it once and then reap multiple sales down the road indirectly.
So what do you lead with when you go after a big client? Because let's say someone's brand new, they've only been doing this for a couple months, and to get their foot in the door, how do they differentiate themselves? What do you find is the big the mindset shift from, first of all, from where you were like doing 300 or 400, 500, 600, and then jump to the 3,000 to 5,000, and their mindset to say, look, this is the most appealing when you have a conversation. If you're going to have a conversation with a decision maker that's controlling multiple locations, this is the best type of conversation to have. So what's your advice on that?
Absolutely. You have to do your homework and realize what their pain is. So if their pain's reputation, if they're a restaurant and consistently at all their locations, their reputation's 2.3 or something, then that's probably what I would lead with. But most of the time, when I'm talking to a retail franchise, their reputation is non-existent. In the case of my client, and they had a few negative ones, virtually no positive, but they had been paying another SEO company, and they were unhappy with the performance and the results, and they felt like they weren't getting value, if you will. So in my case, I had already done the homework with the marketing lady. I knew the hot button was search, so I created a 3-term package, and then I sold that. Now, then I came in afterwards, 6 months later, and I sold mobile website for every franchisee and for corporate, and so I sold that to them, and it's, it doesn't make me rich. The mobile website, I sold this one time. I'm basically getting $750 a month for a mobile website for this franchise, and then each individual franchisee has their own page. But I collect from the corporate, and then right now I'm talking to them about reputation. So you have to figure out what the door opener is, and you have to hit the hot buttons. Show the value of your service over the price you're asking, and then ask for the business. I mean, it really is that easy, but you have to demonstrate that you have value to them and you're not just there to sell them. You got to show them their pitfalls, their weaknesses, and then fill in the gaps, how you're going to fix it, and what's that going to translate to on the business side. More traffic, more sales, whatever. And in the retail world, it's about visibility, and it's mostly about foot traffic. And they look at search as really just branding, and it's a small investment. So for me to get $350 from these franchises is nothing. And when you add it times 100, it starts to get interesting, right? $350 would laugh me out of the room, but you multiply it by 100. And if I told you how easy it was, you'd crack up.
Let me point out a couple things that Brian said, because these are really pivotal thought processes. He just what I love about Brian, he's such a conversationalist of just kind of easily going over these amazing concepts. So what are some of the takeaways everybody just heard? Because I want to make sure that not one word is wasted here, because you had some amazing concepts. So give me a few takeaways that everybody's heard so far. Okay, so Mike's saying show value. So what I love about what you said is you didn't go, in which we teach a lot in the Sales Mastermind, you didn't go in with mobile, reputation, SEO, video marketing, social media, which typically come.
Sounds like we lost your audio, David. All right, he'll just get back in just a second. Brian, yeah, if you want to pick up on what he
Okay.
was talking
Yeah, I
about.
heard.
Yeah.
I think his mic might have died out. Usually, David, if you hear us, just log out and back in, man. It'll fix it. So yeah, no, he's right. I never come in with multiple things at a small client like that. I like to come in and I like to talk and just understand what they need. And once I realize and I let them talk, give them rope, right, and let them tell you where their pain is. And then if their pain had been social media, my whole offer would have had nothing to do with search. It would have had everything to do with building communities for their retail stores. And if their pain had been rip-off reports, everything I would have done would have been around reputation. So, and that's retail. Now, I actually don't have any restaurant franchises. I saw somebody ask that. One of my coaching students landed a 150 location barbecue franchise. Exact same thing. He did mobile websites and search. They just wanted to be found. And I don't remember what he gets. He gets more than I do, 400, 425, something like that. It's in the upper Midwest. I won't tell you the name because anybody in Minnesota to Ohio to Pennsylvania would know this one. And it's really cool. So that's kind of the other side. The thing about franchises is, like Richard pointed out, we did a pilot about a year ago, a guy named Daryl Eves and myself, and we did this pilot on a franchise product. We decided not to ever really mass market it, just because what we were doing was we were having a lot of success, and honestly, we tested it out. We got some feedback, and we just, sometimes you make the decision not to push something. And what we did is one of the members in there landed this restaurant franchise, and I helped him, and he closed it. But the reality is franchises are very, very simple to deliver value to. You just have to know what they need. If their pain is reputation, then I'm fairly certain at this point you've learned from David, plenty. If their pain is they're invisible online, you have to show them their competitors that are visible, show them the traffic that they're missing, and the opportunity not only for branding but new and repeat business. So you have to tie it back to the revenue for them. But they get it. At this point in 2013, if they know they're on page 4 of Google and their competition's on page 1, you don't have to do too much selling on it. It's it's
Are
not
you
hard.
there? I think my audio came back.
Yep, hate it.
Okay, so sorry about that. I'm having a little bit of issue here. But one of the things that Brian's brilliant at is he's going with the one thing, getting his foot in the door, and then later doing mobile, later doing social media, later doing something else. So that one pain that he's talking about is critical. And this is why having a cornerstone customer now becomes really vital for everybody. Because walking in, I think two things need to happen. Number one is as a salesperson, you need to be confident. And if you don't have something to say, look, I'm amazing, you need to look at me. Brian's been doing this for a long time, so he has amazing amount of case study and confidence. And so to him, there is no failure. He has a huge resistance to failure because he's already experienced that. So when he walks in, he can legitimately talk to any CEO of any level, $100 million company, without even batting an eye. If you're brand new, it's going to be a little bit more intimidating to do that, but all that fear goes away when you've got a cornerstone customer to back you up. So in the sales training, we talk about how to set up that cornerstone customer, making sure that you even go for free and do some great services so that you can use them as a testimonial and leverage them. So some huge things that you talked about, Ryan. Number one is get your foot in the door by talking about one pain problem and only one pain problem. Be like a surgeon and strategically go after that. And then once you've got rapport, you're building relationship. I think the second thing that's huge is your one-to-many approach. So you go after people that are influencers of other accounts. So you don't have to sell 100 people. You're selling one, or at least you're selling that one, and you're using that as a referral to get to many really, really fast. So guys, if you're writing things down, these are the big takeaways. When I started about 10 years ago, longer than that actually, about now 13 years, in the television industry, we would produce public television spots with Morley Safer and John Stossel from ABC's 2020. And literally, I would have to create stories out of thin air, and I would just grab a franchise book and go from A to Z, and I'd call them. So there is no specific, opportunity to say, oh, this is perfect, or people are missing this. The big missing opportunity is going after those that have big spheres of influence, like associations that really want to help out their strategic partners or their members, or going after franchises that don't know anything about reputation, or don't know anything about mobile, or really can't figure out how to get ROI and social. So brilliant stuff, Brian. Brian, let's talk a little bit about prospecting for leads. I know we've jumped into it a little bit. So if you were going to hire a salesperson today, what would be the best way for you to explain to them, based on all your experience, about prospect, how to go find the right leads that are going to be paying the right amount. What do you say to them? How do you qualify them? So let's talk about prospecting leads from your perspective. As if there's a new salesperson right in front of you, what would your advice be?
So prospecting for leads. So right now my business is tailored heavily into automotive. And so Mike, I saw your question about restaurants. It's an awesome opportunity for anybody on the franchise side. It's not my focus. I think people could kill it in that area. But if I was somebody new and I was prospecting, I do like a multi-touch system, direct mail, email, and phone calls. I think it takes a hybrid approach to get anywhere. I don't think you can be successful today only using one method. I think it's possible. I just think you amplify your chances of meetings and callbacks when you touch them multiple ways, because you never know. Hey, does this prospect respond to email, or does this prospect respond better to a bank bag on their desk? Or what if you landed a cell phone turned on with your phone number that says, obviously your phone's broke, I haven't received your call back, give me a call at. You know what I mean? You never know. You have to build a campaign. So my outbound prospecting is now multimodal. It involves direct mail, 6 different pieces that I do. It involves direct email, interspersed between the mail pieces, and then we follow up on the phone, and we try to set an appointment, and we want to set a face-to-face, because when we're selling something that's $5,000 or $10,000 a month, it's unlikely I'm going to close it without some level of rapport with the client. So we have to meet the GM or the owner of the dealership, sit down, let them beat me up a little bit. You know, as a result, I'll learn more about what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. So I know if I can find out how many cars they sold last month, let's say it's 100, and I know the industry data says their marketing budget is $250 to $400 per car that they sell. So I know they have $25,000 to $40,000 to spend in marketing, hypothetically. So, and I know they spend 25% of that budget on digital. So if it's $30,000, I know they have $7,500 roughly earmarked for digital, and I want to present something that uses that $7,500. And that's kind of how I do it in automotive. If I was doing it with contractors, I would probably do a combination of email and phone call, probably less direct mail, because the rate of return you're going to get, what's the ROI for you on the new contractor? Are you going to get $500 a month, or is it $1,000 a month client? And if you're signing an AC guy and you get $750, you can probably land those clients with phone calls. Typically the owner will answer the phone calls and emails, and you just kind of marry them together so that they're like, wow, this person is really impressive, they're diligent, and they're persistent. And then all you do is, it may take one thing. I think if you leave this call with anything, don't think you can do it one time or 2 times. I can't find the stat offhand. I'll look when David goes off talking about something in a second. I'll find you the stat, but I promise you, the stats say it takes 8, 9, and 10 touches for many people to make a decision. So if you think you're going to close somebody on your first call, if you do, you're not really good, you're lucky. So if you do it
I love that.
call number 3, 4, or 5, that's just called persistence and working your system. So if you're using like Lead Kahuna and you're working that system and you're interspersing it with calls and emails, it may take the 5th call. I'd be curious for many of you, how many times did it take to reach out to and touch a business owner before you were able to get the actual win the deal? Like I saw Doug Cameron on here. I know he signed a few clients, and I'm fairly certain it wasn't the first conversation. It took multiple touches. And it's important that you know that, and you don't quit when they say no one time, or no on the first call is not right now. You just have to keep following up, be persistent, and you will reap many sales out of people that told you no the first time. You have to do it in an elegant way and not be obnoxious, but when you do that, you will find that they will respect you, they will brand you with whatever service you're selling. You'll be the rep management person, rep marketing, you'll be the search person, whatever it is, and you just have to be persistent. I don't quit until we touch somebody 8 or 10 times. And at that point, we just put them in a pre-warm, we put them on an email, and they can opt out, but we put them on just an email newsletter once a month, because I want to stay in front of them. When I make a list of clients, I start with 40 clients, and I just want to circle the noose over those 40 clients until I can squeeze deals out of them. If I can get meetings out of 40% of the people I talk to, that gives me 16 meetings. And then if I can close 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4, it's strictly a numbers game. And as soon as you take the emotion out of it and you realize this is math, the more work you do on the front end of the sales funnel, the more opportunities you have on the phone or in person, the more likely you're going to close a deal. And don't take it personal when somebody says no. Just go back, recalibrate your offer and your message, and come back again in a week with something very soft. And then come back again to the rest of your target list over and over and over again. And everybody on this call, even if you started today, you will bring in business. You have to put an effort out. If you put the effort out on the front end, you'll reap the reward. So hey,
I love that. No, that's great. So here are the takeaways, right, real quick. I put a poll up, and I just want everybody to think about their last 2 or 3 customers that they've got, and I want you to answer the poll, and based on how many touches it took you to get that sale. And so we've got about 20% of the vote in right now. Okay, so before you actually got to that decision maker, had that real sales conversation, how many touches did it actually take you? So we almost got 50%. I want everybody answering this so that we can really help everybody get clarity on that it takes sheer will to get this stuff done, not just luck. And so in the chat box, I want you guys to put some takeaways of what Brian just said. I'll give you my takeaways. First, it was that it's a multi-touch system. So you've got to have a multi-touch. And this is why hopefully everybody's got lead code, and this is why we built it that way for the multi-touch. And so it's just not once or twice and then you give up. You go over and over and over again. And I love what Brian said. Look, you recalibrate. Some of you have been gathering emails for like 3 months or 4 months, and you haven't re-emailed them anything. It's like, oh, I emailed them, I sent them a letter, and on to the next batch. Email them, on to the next batch. Email them, on to the next batch. You got to keep going, hitting them every single month. So this list that you're building is growing and growing and growing, and you stay in front of them with great offers, an irresistible offer, and those are things that we've talked about. So what other big takeaways did everybody get from that? Persistence, Terry said. Follow up. So Kevin says, make sure you're persistent and don't quit. Elise says, have a follow-up plan. If you don't get access, come back with something softer. Stay with it, Larry says. So brilliant. So really great feedback there. So the big aha moment so far have been lead with one thing. Make sure you find out their pain, not what you're selling, but their personal pain. Make sure that you do follow-up in a great follow-up system over and over and over again. So let me show you the poll. So I'm actually going to close it, and I want everybody to take a look at their screen real quick. So everybody see that? So less than 10% did 10% are less than 2. So 27 plus 33 plus 15, what are we at, like almost 70%? Can everybody see that? Over 70% of everybody that closes a deal does it in 4 touches or more. And almost 45% do it with 5 touches or more.
David, that's big. I mean, if you think about it, I would say 95% of the people quit after the first time. So as long as you stay in the game and you stay in the saddle and you're persistent, your competition's quitting all around you. You can go from a run, a sprint, to a jog, and you're going to win the business if you just put in the effort. It takes time. That's all it is. Persistence.
You know, it's interesting. You're saying persistence, and Mike in the chat box says consistency. In the sales mastermind training, what we've been doing is really talking about how to build a consistent process, because it's those that are consistent are the ones that win. So it's over and over and over again. We've got a few questions in here.
It's funny. I didn't say consistency, but my number one little like hokey saying I've been dropping lately is consistency brings quality, and it's very, very true. I think about it in my golf game, like when I'm really stinking out there, and I'm just like, I got to be out here twice a week. I got to be consistent, and it's true in anything you do. You're so right, David. Consistency.
So a few diagnostic questions here. Karen's asking, so how do you ask for the marketing budget? How do you get into that conversation? So I mean, it's a little intimidating because it feels like it's prying. Like, hey, so how much are you spending, and how much money can you give me for my, type of thing. So how do you get into that conversation that makes it easy and, more important, positions you as a consultant, not a salesperson?
Well, okay, so let me do automotive first, and then we'll do kind of outside of automotive. So what I do is I ask a question like Richard Jones. So Richard's a general manager. I'll say, Richard, how many cars are you selling? How many new, how many used cars do you sell? And Richard will tell me 150. So let's see, 100 new and 50 used. So I'll take 150, and I'll multiply by the NADA average. I look at industry data, and I know the data ranges between 250 and 400. I usually split the difference, and I use 300. So I would take 300 times 150, and I would say his monthly marketing budget is $45,000. Then I look at the same research from the NADA, which is National Auto Dealers, et cetera, Association, and it says 26.2% in 2012, December 2012, of a marketing budget for a dealer is spent on digital. So I'll divide his marketing budget by 4. So I know they're spending, in this case, $7,000-8,000. On the 45, they're spending $10,000-11,000. So that's how I back into it. If it's somebody else, if it's a contractor or an attorney, I always use questions, very much like David. David controls these mastermind meetings and his sales calls. How does he do it? David does it with very, very well thought out questions. He's not rude, he's very polite, but he drives the conversation where he needs it to go. That's what you need to do. You need to use questions to control that meeting. So Richard, so you advertise in, Richard, you advertise in Yellow Pages. What are you spending right now? And you just get them talking. You get somebody to open up. Do you do any direct mail, any kind of print media? And you
you almost have to, like with contractors, you just sort of engage them in a casual conversation, find out what they're spending, ask them how it's working, kind of tally it up in your head, and it's that easy. Now, franchises, when I talk to the marketing director or VP, I ask them, what is their per store marketing budget? Do you have a digital budget? And a lot of times, if you come out and ask, at least 50% of the people will tell you, even if they didn't want to tell you because they don't like confrontation and they don't want to say no. They don't want to disappoint. So ask the question, and you will often get an answer.
I love it. That's brilliant. And another addition to that might be, and this is typically what I do, is if those of you who haven't watched it, please write this down. It's called The Profit. The Profit is a new show that's on CNBC, and it's like The Apprentice meets Shark Tank, but it's in real life. So what this gentleman does is he goes around and he actually looks at businesses to buy, strokes a check for $300,000, $400,000, and then partners with them. And so one of the things he talks about is going in and making sure that they know their numbers all the time. So this is a conversation that I think is on the table for every business. So here's the number one question to ask. So write this question down. You should always be asking the question, what is the yearly value of your customer? So what is the yearly value of your customer? So whether it's a dentist, a contractor, it doesn't matter who it is, but you just need to get a sense of, when you get a customer, what's the average yearly value? Now, some people might not know the yearly because they're based on projects. So for a dentist, that might be about $350 a year. For a roofer, that might be an average job that they do is about $8,000. So some they do at 12, some they do at 5, but about $8,000. So what you're looking for is you want to say yearly, because monthly is way too short. And we always want to we want to project with our language that we're not in this for the short term, we're in this for the long term. So the question everybody needs to ask up front is to get the number, what is your yearly worth of a customer? What type of revenue are they going to drive? So if it's a restaurant, that means they'll come back, maybe average of 4 times in a year. So that's, once every 3 months, they're going to come back. So when you got that number, you've intrinsically and subconsciously jumped into the numbers questions. So now the way that I would deviate from that, so it's very palatable, is asking them, so how much of your business is by referral? How much of that business is by referral? That's a very easy question. Oh, about 50%, about 60%. Well, then the rest is pretty much by marketing and advertising, correct? Well, then how much on a monthly basis do you typically spend to get that 40% or 70% or 60%? So can everybody see how this is a numbers game and that we're just having a conversation? More importantly, once you've got these two critical numbers, number one, you've got how much a customer is worth. Number two, what percentage of the customers they're getting. So you can allocate how many customers, what percentage. So if they're getting 20 new customers a month, if 50% is by referral, how many customers are left for their advertising? 10, right? If 10 customers are worth an average of $400 for the year, that's $4,000. So the next question is a very obvious question. How many, or how much money are you spending for those 10 customers? So if they're spending $2,000 a month and they're making $4,000, that's a great ROI. If they're spending $1,000, that's a great ROI. If they're spending nothing, well, here's the really great part. If you're doing some crazy stuff, what happens when we get organized? What happens if we get really structured and we can spend $1,000 a month and bring you another 10 customers? So just last month alone with one strategy we did for a dentist, we got them 7 new customers of an average of $450 a year is what they spent. So they're loving life, spending $1,000 a month with us. Absolutely loving it for just one strategy we're doing with them. So can everybody get that? Any questions on that? Can everybody got those questions? It's a natural question. How much is a customer worth? How many customers are you getting per month? How many of those are referrals? Then the others must be for advertising. So approximately, what are you spending on advertising on a monthly basis? Oh, we're spending about $1,500. Well, what are you doing with that $1,500? So here's the really cool, and I'll finish with this because I think this is an important question. Get everybody comfortable with knowing the number one criteria is you got to work with a company that's got money. Don't you dare work with a company that doesn't have a budget. So if they're working by referral, if 50% of their business is by referral, here's the typical conversation, and use this language regarding reputation. So Sally has a great experience with you putting a roof on her house. And since 50% of your business is by referral, Sally's talking to her neighbor, and her neighbor says, oh my goodness, I'd like to get our roof done too. Say, oh, John Smith Contracting did our roof. Oh, do you have their number? No. Google them. That's always what happens. So Sally, the neighbor, Googles John Smith Contracting, and what's the first thing she sees? His reputation. So this is a great lead-in. When you hear that a lot of the business is by referral, this means you have a huge in for going after reputation first and getting your foot in the door. So any questions on that real quick? All right, good. Is that helpful? Give me some clarity. Crystal clear? Good. Lots of good stuff. So a few questions coming in here. How do you get the phone to ring, Brian?
How about this? Why don't I got a great answer. Let me share my screen for 10 seconds, man.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me shoot it
I
over
will,
to you.
And then you'll have to. I'll give all this to you, David, but then you can share it later. So hang on one second.
Okay, you'll see. Show my screen there.
Yep, I see it. Let's see. Make sure. Get rid of the question. So. Okay, so this is one of my automotive clients. Do you see it, David?
Yep.
So this is a call report. A lot of you guys are interested in that whole pay-per lead, pay-per-call mantra that people are pushing. This is 1 month through today with one of my clients. This is a used car dealer with only 75 cars in their inventory. So we generated 416 calls for the month. Not bad.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
But I've got 21 used car dealers like this that we do this exact service for, and we're aggressively adding new ones. The beauty is, in this case, in automotive, I make the phone ring by tapping into sites like Craigslist and Backpage. I've got a unique strategy to basically syndicate their inventory in front of these traffic sources, and as a result, we generate phone calls. So I charge these clients $600 a week. It's very simple. I keep it weekly. Our team bills them every week, so it's about $2,500 a month. My ROI on it's through the roof. Now, out of these 416 calls, talk about showing value, let's divide that number in half and say it's total garbage. Let's say we'll round down to 200. And let's say since there are phone calls coming in, they only close 1 out of every 10 phone calls. So we're down to 200. We divide by 10. We now get 20 sales. The average front-end value of a car sale is $2,000. So 2,000 times 20 is 40,000. The important thing is to price this in a way that they have a monster ROI. So my $2,500 to generate them 40,000 usually gives them a monster ROI. And it's that easy. Now that's automotive. So whoever was asking about making the phone ring, this is what we do. We don't do it per lead or anything like that. We do a fixed flat price because I know they want that. And we position and spin it much the way that David's been teaching, but we just talk about our unique strategy to get your inventory in front of millions of viewers. And we don't do any SEO. We don't do any mobile, any social media. We tap into existing traffic. We put your inventory there. We drive phone calls. And they love it because these small little lots that you would drive past and not think nothing about have more marketing budget than most of the clients we're all sitting around talking about. So, these sleazy looking car lots that look like, oh my God, I would never walk in there, right? They have, $10,000, $12,000 a month they spend in marketing. It's pretty easy for you to get $2,000 or $3,000 out of it because they're constantly mixing it up to deliver value. So, anyway.
Brilliantly said. One of the big aha moments I think everybody's getting now, and make sure everybody's got this written down, is you focus on one target market, and you know that incredibly well. Not that you don't have multiples, but you're so good at actually going after one because you get to know the language, you get to understand the needs, you get to understand the process. Not to mention, once you got one customer, you can leverage that. So anybody not doing that, put in the chat box, I need to change. You need to go after one market and only one market, and that's it. And you don't
David, I need to
that
say,
market.
I better say this right now. I saw somebody asking about lead tracker jack and stuff like that. You guys, I'm switching my whole business. I'm switching my whole business over to Joe Troyer's analytical call tracking. When you start playing,
actually, let me show my screen on that real quick.
Awesome.
Because this is very good timing actually.
There you go. You want this.
So in the chat box right now.
Yep.
Yeah. So in the chat box right now, I actually asked Joe yesterday for a very special offer for everybody. I'll be sending an email out today. It's upgrade to call your analytic call tracking 2.0 for just $1. Okay, and then it's only $97. He has added round robin. Which means if you got, let's say you've got multiple dealers or multiple businesses you want to actually put those leads to, you've got call multiple numbers at once. So when that call comes in, it'll roll over to the next number. It gets email alerts, so every time a lead comes in, it will alert so that your decision maker knows that you're, I mean, crushing it. So, I mean, Brian, imagine if every time a lead came in, that was 400.
They would hate me if I did that.
I know. Well, they would hate you, but my goodness, they would be like, Brian's doing a great job. Then you've got caller history. So if the same person calls over and over and over again, you can know that and make sure that's not counted. And then phone call reporting, which is classify calls by codes to get better understanding of trends. So every month that you go through the calls, you can actually code them to say, look, these are sales calls, these are legitimate calls, these are this. So when you're giving an account for what you're doing, you got an amazing strategy there. So if you guys want to jump on this, it's called Analytic Call Tracker. It's what I've been using forever. It is amazing, and he just upgraded it to 2.0, and it's $1, and then it's $97 after that. So for those of you that are business owners, this isn't for salespeople, but since we've got a lot of questions on that, we'll delete this part out of it for the replay. But so take advantage of that. Click on that, and let me just give it to you one more time. It's signupforthewebinar.com/ACT-David. Everybody got that? It's not per month. It's one time. One time. It's a one time. And then it uses Twilio, which you end up paying for your minutes on Twilio, which is like nothing. It's like absolutely crazy.
No, but David, that's the value. It's not only the features. Imagine if I'm doing 20 dealerships at, say, 400 calls a month. The difference between paying a nickel a call and a penny a call, it gets really big. And with ACT, you get all the features you could ever want, and you get a wholesale price. It's a phenomenal product, and the rates, you can't touch the rate. It's really good, you guys.
Yeah, it's a one-time $97, guys. So try it for $1. You don't like it, don't worry about it. Then it's $97 one time, and they do have advanced features on a monthly if you want that, but it's not necessary. So if you want call tracking that I use and that hundreds of others use, get Analytic Call Tracker. So I don't want to hit that too hard. I just want everybody. I know there's been a lot of questions because you just showed that. So let's jump in here because we have a few minutes left. So we talked about prospecting, we talked about foot in the door strategies, and one of the things that I think I want to make sure we reiterate is the focus on one niche and being an expert in that niche. So much so that Brian has identified himself as the world's best automotive online marketer. Now, it would be tough to say that if Brian worked in 90 different industries and only had like 6 customers and none of them were in the automotive industry. But because he knows it so well, he can market himself as that. So how many of you would love to say, I'm one of the world's best dental online marketers, or one of the world's best contractor online marketers? So you can give yourself that title if you actually focus on one niche. So when you go after one niche, you lead with one problem, you get your foot in the door with identifying that pain. It's going to be easy to get to presenting to the decision makers. So let's talk about presenting for a few moments. So Brian, I know that you are an amazing relationship builder, a great rapport builder, and I know really all that starts with the prospecting and your foot in the door by talking and position yourself as the expert. But talk about presenting and how what you do and how you do it to really get the deal closed. Any strategies, any principles that you want to give to everybody listening?
Sure. I usually use my I have an iPad, what do you call it, a mini now, and I typically have 5 to 7 slides on there, but I don't lead with that. I have it as like a prop or as a tool. So if I'm in a meeting with someone, I usually start out and I like to use questions to control the discussion, and I just get them talking. I like to start about anything but business. So I may talk about, if I see I live in Atlanta, so if I see a UGA sports thing in the guy's office or something, I'll chat about the upcoming football season, and I'll mention, something on that topic. And then when we get into discussion, and I'm very honest with them, and I just ask questions. So, how are you marketing today? Where are you bringing in most of your clients? Like David talked about a minute ago when he talked about referrals. And once you're doing the questions and you do this almost like a analysis, like a primary care physician would do when they first walk in and they're doing a checkup with you, I want to know those things so that I don't misstep when I actually. If I came in there to pitch search and I realize he could care less about search and he really cares about reputation, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend almost all my time talking about reputation. So you have to be very fluid. You have to be willing to adapt what you're going to offer based upon what the client wants, but you have to be able to just have a conversation, to be very relaxed and guide the conversation towards a logical path, which is, hey, what do you do today? What are your pain points? Then I start talking about what I'm seeing in the space from other people in his business, other dentists, and then I talk about ways we can improve his business. And then at the end, I just move him towards a logical conclusion that he wants to hire me or she. And by doing that, you're not really selling them on anything. You're educating them, you're helping them, and they get a lot of value out of the meeting. And at the end, most of the time when they realize
wow, I have a true problem with reputation. I didn't even understand it. I'd love to talk more about that. And so we delve into it, or if the person's ready to do business, which often happens, then we move down that path. But questions, interrogate them gently, find out as much as you can about their business and move that towards you solving their pain point, and then you presenting what you do for other people in their niche. And I sometimes use the iPad. I usually sit it out, and if it seems like they want to get into that, I'll show them screenshots, their reputation scores, let's say, or their search results, their competitors. I don't put a bunch of PowerPoints on a slide or anything like that, because people don't want to see that. They want to talk, and they want to keep it about their business and about how it's going to correlate to them making money. So I show them what's keeping them from making money, and then I talk to them about how we can address it and how we can fix it. So that's it.
I love that. So it's definitely a more relational approach, and I think it takes to get that approach. I want to suggest that everybody make sure that when they go in, that if you got your iPad in front of you, or you've got a notebook, that everybody is making sure that they are on track. It's very easy, especially if you're new, to be a little nervous, to be a little awkward, and to have that type of conversation, because you might spend a little bit too much time on the personal stuff. And the hour that you've actually allotted for that, you end up going over that hour because the first 30 minutes was about personal stuff, and man, you didn't get to what you really wanted to get to. So if you're going to go a more organic route, relational route, for those that are a little bit more experienced, that's exactly the way you should go. For those that are a little bit not so experienced, I want to suggest that if you go that route, that you make sure that you're point on, meaning on your pad of paper or on your iPad, you pull out notes, and you say, look, the first 10 minutes is about this, the next 5 minutes is about this, the next 5 minutes, and I'm only going to take up 45 minutes of this guy's time, but I want to make sure I get these points down. This will give you into a system and a process. I know intrinsically I do it. I know naturally Brian does it, because we've done it so many times. We know where we're going. We know when things are awkward. We understand when it's not getting to the point that we need, and we're kind of off on rabbit trails. So the way that we always stay on track is to make sure that we have some type of guide to do that. So just always make sure you're prepared with an outline. I said this a lot, and I just want to kind of drive this point home. The wealthiest people in the world that make a lot of money fast are who typically? So the wealthiest people. So when you think of a wealthy person, what do you think about? What are maybe one or two areas? We think about what? Actors, right? We think about pro sports. Agreed? So when you think about wealthy people, you typically think about those types of people, actors in pro sports. So I want you to think about what they do. You'll never get Tom Cruise showing up and ad-libbing, right? Ever. He reads that script. He's on target. Now, what does he bring? He brings an amazing emotion. He brings a character to it, and we believe it. And for some of you that are Tom Cruise fans, you're going to love watching his stuff. So Gerard Butler, all those guys, no one shows up saying, hey, I'm just showing up for an hour today, and I'm winging it. Give me my millions. Same thing with the pro player. They run that out. They run that pass. They run that pattern over and over and over and over again. They know it so well, so innate, that when naturally the game is happening, it's very comfortable for them to do that, and they put their own flair and insight. That's when we love to see when we watch a good game. So notice these guys are professionals, but no one goes off script. Everybody's playing the pattern. Everybody knows what the end game should be. And when something goes left, you can go right. When things go right, you can go right with it, depending on your strategy. So never walk into a presentation unprepared. You can make it flow. You can have a great conversation back and forth, but you better have an agenda, and a very stringent agenda, to make sure you're going to get your point across. If not, you just wasted the most valuable time that you could, because remember, how many times did it take to get there? It didn't take once. It didn't take twice. It didn't take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And then out of those 4, 5, 6, 7 times of follow-up, how many people did you follow up with? So think of the game and how much practice that we're playing into it. You contacted 40 people 6 times. Now you're finally in an appointment. And now you leave the appointment more confused than when you first got in, because you don't know what you accomplished. More importantly, your buyer's more confused than when you walked in than after you left, because he didn't know what it was about. So take some of these amazing principles Brian has put together, which is focus on the one pain, identify the one problem, making sure you're bringing value, and then making sure that you're on point so that you get something accomplished, and make sure that you get a commitment at the end of the conversation. So let's talk about that and presenting. Brian, how do you get them, and maybe you don't, I'm assuming this, but typically speaking, we should always get some type of commitment, because one meeting needs to lead to the next meeting. So what are any strategies on what type of mini commitments that you can get, so that you can either get to the next meeting, or maybe they can get a trial basis, or you can get your foot in the door somehow, so when they get to that presenting to the decision maker, that they're leaving with some type of decision?
Yeah, so I only meet with the general manager or the owner of the dealer. I'll have a brief discussion with like recommenders, people like an internet manager or a sales manager or somebody like that. But my goal is to only be in front of that decision maker. And then what I do is I basically provide them, a lot of times if it doesn't go the way I want, if I don't get the business, what I do is I don't often tell everybody, but I leave a leave behind where my leave behind kind of shows them their position in the market vis-a-vis search, social media, and reputation. Very, very simple. And then what I often do is I asked if it's okay if I follow up. If they tell me they're not interested, I said, is it okay if I follow up in a few weeks? I'd love to just see, if he says, hey, I've already got that covered. Often people, to blow you off, will say, I've got that handled. It's covered. So by leaving them that lead behind, and then when I follow up, I'll be very, very keen to point out that it's either degraded more or it's maintained its, poor rating. And I just show it. And then when you have these multiple touches, the guy may not want to give me the time of day again, but once he sees that the results are still bad and they've been bad for X amount of time, he's much more likely to let me come back into that account and give me a chance to win the business.
I love that. So again, follow-up and consistency. Dan's got a question here. How do you push to meet with the decision maker where the internet sales manager or people that push themselves forward, how to kill them?
Yeah, I only prospect to the GM. So like the direct mail and email and stuff, I don't even bother with the internet sales manager. But what I will do is I will treat the internet manager as a potential ally. And because his job isn't to do what we do, his or her job is to sell vehicles. So for me, if I'm in a meeting and the internet manager's in there, I try to be very complimentary about what they're doing in front of their boss, and I point out if I see anything positive, I try to point it out. And the only reason why is because that'll usually change the internet manager into somebody that's gonna be positive about what I'm saying. But typically, I don't run into that problem. I only market to the GM. Really, my challenge is gatekeeper issues or getting the GM to give me the time of day. And it's not how do I go from this person to that person. I literally just start at that person and I make sure that I come in and meet with them. If somebody else is in there, I try to be as polite as I can about the problem if I think if it would reflect poorly on them. You have to be very careful because you never know whose baby is reputation, and you're in there telling them how bad they are. You have to be careful. So I try to be politically correct, but I don't run into that based on the way we sell, Dan. So we don't typically see that. What we will see is a gatekeeper like a receptionist. If tomorrow I wanted to go and do drop-ins, which I don't do very often, but if I did, I would walk in, I'd walk past the receptionist, and she may say, hi, can I help you, sir? Yes, I'm here to see Richard Jones, thank you. And I just keep walking like I own the place. And you do that, and she just, you're done. She's not going to say anything. Now, you can't do that at a dentist's office. If you try to walk back past the gatekeepers at a dentist's office with that approach, they'd take the drill on you. I don't know what they would do. You have to know your niche, and you have to know kind of the mindset of the business. In a car dealership, the mindset is anybody that comes in the building, man, they could sell a car to that person. In a dentist's office, it's not quite the same thing. So you have to tailor everything to your audience.
I love that. And so let's write down the number 10. I think the number 10 is a little high, but I just want everybody to write down that number 10. And when you go after a niche, it doesn't mean you talk to 2 dentists. It doesn't mean you talk to 4 dentists. It doesn't mean you talk to 8 dentists. It means you talk to 10 contractors, 10 plumbers. So I would
Hey, I think we lost David's sound. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we lost him again, Brian. Just
okay.
Yeah,
So
I want to say, look, I really want to tackle this niche.
David, they lost you for about 45 seconds.
You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Okay, so what I was saying is put the.
Uh-oh, we're not hearing you. Yeah, it's probably GoToWebinar, you guys. I have little doubt it's not David's setup. It's typically, when this happens to you as an attendee, what you do is you log out and log back in and it fixes it. When it happens to you when you're the presenter, you just, honestly, you pray. Because it's the worst situation and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, I've gotten disconnected 2 or 3 times this webinar as well. Yep, there we go. You still there, David?
Am I back now? That's
I hear you, David.
Okay.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. So I don't know where I was caught, but what I was saying is that write the number 10 down. And if you want to go after a niche and be an expert, then that means 10 sit-down meetings. And when you get to 10, it's amazing what's going to happen. You're going to feel comfortable. You're going to know all the objections. You're going to understand what the price is per customer. You're going to understand everything really about that niche, the language, how they call their customers, whether they're clients, whether they're patients, whether they're cases. You're going to know all that. So write down the number 10. And those of you who said, look, I've got to start changing my ways here. I got to look at one market, go after that market, be an expert in that market. Then your number is 10. So your goal over the next 10 days is to get 10 appointments. And remember, we're talking about in the Sales Mastermind giving away a free offer. So you don't have to go sell them, just give something away for free, because in the next 10 days, if you can literally get that confidence, the entire world is going to change for you when it comes to your sales positioning. Your confidence, your clarity about being able to identify their one pain and then prescribe a service that's really going to help them grow their business. So everybody put down the word 10, all right? Okay, all right, so we have a couple other questions coming in here regarding handling objections. And so real quick, Brian, when it comes to, really there's two levels of handling objections. One is the gatekeeper. So I know you said you kind of walk by, but you focus on automotive. What about those other niches like dentists and contractors and spas, people that have those receptionists? What is the best way that you can actually get past that gatekeeper so that you can have a conversation with a
my best strategy has been direct mail, David, directed to the right person, because you're not going to walk in like we talked about. If the gatekeeper does a good job, you're never even going to get to them via phone call. So email is good, but if you pair the email with a really slick direct mail, you will get their attention. They will call you. The system that I use, we generate roughly 40 to 45% meeting rate out of our prospects. So, and we have to get past the gatekeeper. If you are in contractors, you're not going to have a gatekeeper, right? You're typically going to get the contractor on the phone pretty easily. If you're in any kind of medical or professional practice, you almost always will have a gatekeeper.
And so you're saying your direct mail gets past the gatekeeper?
Yeah, I'll send a box addressed to the business owner.
Gotcha. All right. So what you're doing is you're not sending postcards or specific letters. You're actually sending stuff that's got to get to them that looks really important.
Exactly. It's something that looks amazing. And if it gets opened, matter of fact, I just got off the call this morning with a coaching student. She was going to a meeting today, and I said, how'd you get the meeting? And she said that the staff of this is an LA car dealership. So she called super early, but the staff actually made the owner call her because they were blown away by what she did to get the meeting. And I'll tell you the fourth, and I know I see a few of you on here that probably know, Elizabeth for one, but so Sidra, what she did is she went through, this process, and the fourth one was a cell phone turned on with her number with a note that we crafted, and literally the staff was so in love with what she was doing, they made their boss call Sidra up, and the meeting was set because internal pressure at this company said, you got to find out what this lady does. This is unbelievable, and it works like a charm, but you have to be able to get that mail piece. If it's a postcard, in many cases it gets filed in the trash before anyone ever sees it. So for me, since my clients are worth, to me they're worth $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, is it worth spending $5 of postage on 10 of them? So $50 if I know I'm going to get 40% of those are going to meet with me. So when I spend $50 to get 4 meetings on the chance to win these big deals, the answer is yes. So that's kind of, you have to make the numbers work with your business, but that's what I do. We might have lost David because I know he's not being quiet right now. He's hammering me right now, you guys. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to, as a gift, I will make, I'm actually creating all this to share out with my partner in the next few weeks, but I'll make it available to David once I get done writing it all up, and we'll share it with you guys so you have it. It's really good, though, Dan. I promise you. It's lumpy mail. It's a takeoff on Dan Kennedy and lumpy mail. So that's all it is. And it's a real cell phone. Like Paul Robertson, I buy the phones from TrackPhone with coupons. I pay roughly $5 a phone. But that's it. So, Roger, you were asking about contractors. No, when I work with contractors, I have a younger brother who's in the air conditioning business. He owns a small heating and air company. So I work with roofers and AC companies only. Those are the only two I've really had any traction with. And I've done AC, since my brother got in the business, and I've done roofing much longer. Originally, I only got clients from networking meetings. And then I got smart when I realized that the average client had such a small marketing budget, they couldn't afford to hire me. And I got a bunch of broke clients. And so what you're probably learning with David is to focus in on clients. I heard him say it a few minutes ago. Focus in on clients that have budget. When you know they have budget and they fit your target market, then it's a numbers game. How many touches is it going to take to get a meeting? How many meetings creates a deal? And David's technology, like a Lead Kahuna, I use Lead Kahuna. It's the best product out there, bar none, for what it does. And it can help, if you have a full-time job and you leverage tools like Lead Kahuna, it can give you that efficiency so you don't spend all of your time in this business wasting trying to find clients. If you have a full-time job right now and you have 12 hours a week, here you go, here's the contest. If you have a full-time job right now and you have 12 hours a week to focus on this business, on building this business
the nest egg, the security, your future company, how much of those 12 hours should you spend on prospecting? Anybody, any thoughts? Feel free to put them in. And yeah, I agree with Aletta, but Richard, I'd go much higher than 6. Jeff, you're probably right around 10. You should spend almost all your time prospecting. Not all of it, but almost. And yeah, Dan, the cell phone is $5, and that comes with 20 minutes of time. Pest control, pool installers, all those are good, Ben. You have to choose, and I had to make a decision on who I was going to choose. So you can't lose with anybody like that. You know another good one? Alarm companies. Anybody that has a recurring revenue stream from their client. Karate studios, funeral homes. Who else are good local clients? Obviously, the easy suspects, certain attorneys, certain medical practices, automotive for sure. There are so many good prospects. The key is to make sure that it's not a bad prospect. It's not somebody. The average networking group attendee has a very, very low budget. And those typically, you'll land 5 clients in a month at a networking group, but will you keep them for 6 months? It's unlikely. And it's not going to be your fault. It's going to be that they truly are grasping at straws, and you're not going to be able to solve their problem. So when you pick a niche and you work with David and you find that your niche is, let's say, AC contractors, you know their pains, right? They make plenty of money from March through September, the warm season. They have nothing going on in the winter. They need to make the phone ring. How do they compete in a very saturated market? So the answer is, and what do they do today? Right now today, most AC contractors spend almost all their money on yellow pages. That's where they spend the vast majority of their money. So what you're going to do is, knowing that information, you're going to craft something, and you're going to show them exactly what they should be doing. And when you do that, and you show them a way to wean off of that, to wean off of the pain that is the yellow pages, $4,000 or $5,000 a month. My little brother's company is only 3 or 4 people. I never know how many he has because he's constantly firing his staff. But I will show you how important it is. Because I think we lost David. So give me a second.
Oh no, I'm taking notes.
And I'll show you really fast because it ties into reputation. This is so important that you have to be able to. If you see here, look at this. Okay, look at this right here. You'll obviously know that my younger brother's name is Anderson, so he's letter A in the map. But what really stands out here, it's not that he's letter A, it's that he has 16 reviews. And other than mine was real because he does do my beach house, but all of those come from clients organically. So you look at here and your AC goes out and you see these results. What company are you going to call? Pretend my brother's spot G. Who are you going to call? You're going to call him because of reputation. It's a 4.9 with 16. There's no one even close. So reputation with search together is the most powerful thing I've seen right now for contractors. Nothing is better. So when you do this kind of work, your offer to a contractor is probably some kind of marriage of reputation and search, because they don't care about a long-term strategy. They care tactically about how to make their phone ring, and one way to make it ring is to be visible on page 1. Easy. But what do you think about all-season service network, letter E? They're not going to get that many calls. All the calls are going to go to my brother in that economy company because they have social proof. Marry what you've learned from David with reputation to what you probably learned from David and others in search. Pair that up, and if you're selling to AC contractors, that's a winning combination that you'll do $700 to $1,200 a month easy per client. Maybe more if you're in certain cities, but my brother's in a town of like 200,000, 250,000, so it's not a giant city. So very, very easy, but you have to know what they need, and you have to choose the right niche, and you have to make your offering fit their niche. So that is
brilliantly said, Brian. And so real quick to actually close everything up, because we want to get to the last part, which is closing the sale. So what type of tips do you have on getting the contract signed and getting it closed quickly? Anything that you do in the prospecting, foot in the door, presenting, and objection handling to make sure that you can get the sale closed fast and making sure that it doesn't elongate over a 30, 60, 90-day period and kind of strike while the iron's hot. So you have any strategies?
No, for sure. The most important one is I always ask for the business. The fact that they met with you means that right now is never going to be a better time to get this deal. And the same thing if they give you the business, if they sign with you that day, it'll never be a better time to ask for a referral, because right now they love you. They just married you. They committed to you, right? So when I'm in there and I'm trying to close the sale, I don't do any pressury stuff. I just tell them, I only work with one Toyota dealer in the market. I'm only going to work with one Ford dealer. I want it to be you. I feel like we have a lot of synergy. I understand your business. I understand your model. I want to help you just devastate the competition, right? I want them to feel like, so my target market is very competitive. Think football coaches, right? So I want them to feel like we're on the same team. So when I'm in there, I want to tell them this. I want to get started right away. if you agree with everything we talked about, you want to set, David, you're good at this stuff, but setting anchors, and you want to set, if you agree that what I showed you made a lot of sense, if you understand the value that our solution are going to bring, are you able to get started now? Can we begin on this, if it's end of the week, can we get started on Monday? I've taken the liberty of I've brought a contract. It's already filled out. Now, they're never going to take the contract I bring because at this point, the natural tendency in automotive is for a sale to occur. They want to have a sale every time somebody walks in. So what's going to happen is they're going to beat me up on price. And it's okay because I always come in with the number of $10,000 a month. But I never come in expecting to get $10,000 a month. So I showed value. I built value for my solution throughout the whole meeting. So at the end of the meeting, I actually asked them, David, I want to be your partner. I want to work with you. What is it going to take for us to go after Lehman Toyota, to go after Maruni? What do we have to do to take it to those guys? I want to be on your team. Can we start Monday? And when you ask them this in my niche, they get fired up. And then they bring it to price. They've already committed to you. They change the discussion to what's it going to cost. And then it's simply a negotiation on price. So that's what I do. Uh-oh.
Looks like David. Oh, now he's back. You there, David?
Yeah, guys, this is every now and then you have a go-to-webinar nightmare day, and better with people that you guys have a relationship. Yeah, so I'll just answer questions while we wait on.
Yeah, I apologize for the issues. I get gee whiz. I had to switch to a completely different internet. So closing the sale, did you cover that in the last 45 seconds I missed?
Yep, we talked about that, okay. And then well, Alex, that's funny. Yeah, we talked about that. So really the point is you have to ask for the business. You have to anchor it back to what you showed them because hopefully during the meeting you created value for your service or your solution to the point that there was no doubt they need it and they want your solution, and you marry it back to their pain. And then I try to keep it as like an us versus them. I want to be on your team. Put me in, coach. What's it going to take for me to start with you on Monday? And, I said, look, Richard, I appreciate you spending the time. I've taken the time to actually put together a proposal. I have it right here. I'm very confident this is exactly what you need. And then what happens, David, is it goes from the discussion shifts from not whether they're going to hire us, but what are they going to pay me, which is great because I don't mind if they beat me up a little bit on price. And I expect that. That's kind of who they are.
Brilliant. Well, Brian, let me tell you, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you for taking time away from your business and all your coaching programs, as well as your team that you've got to help us today get some clarity on these 5 steps. So could everybody give an amazing thank you to Brian and all the great insights that he has. So just lots of love there. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining us for the Sales Mastermind Forum. We're going to have this every single month so that you are able to open and ask your questions to make sure that you've got the best sales process possible. So thank you guys, and take care. And we'll be having the replay in about 48 hours inside your membership area. Okay, so I just stopped recording there. I want to give some quick feedback. For those of you, real quick, how many of you, because I find it interesting, Brian, that you say that you're the weakest on the reputation side, but yet you say it so brilliantly.
Well, I'm just saying I don't focus on it, and honestly, my reputation has strictly come from, you and I talking and stuff. I mean, to me, yeah, it makes common sense, but I am not. There are at least 20 people on this call, and that are probably much better at positioning and pitching it than I am. But when the pain is so obvious, right? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. But I will tell you that, the solution, like your solution that marries alerting and monitoring and reporting and the corrective actions, no one has a comeback to that because you're addressing it, from every aspect of the conversation. I have a lot of fun with it. So reputation to me is intriguing. Where I fall down on today is I haven't been able to sell reputation as a standalone. But then again, I don't often focus on it.
Let's talk about that for a second, real quick. I want to leave you with some value because you gave so much. Who on the line right now is selling reputation standalone, charging $500 to $1,000 a month, so around there, and has a mic real quick? Anybody on the call? I know we've got like a lot of sales, but anybody in the Genius Mastermind?
Yeah, Trip Horton, look at that one, $1,000.
Yeah, so let me bring Trip on. If you guys have a mic, just say I have a mic if you got that. Trip, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, good. So a big takeaway from the training today, real quick.
I really like how he kind of presents to the car dealers. We do. My partner was in the hair salon and spa business for about 15 years, and we doing your training, we really started honing in on spas and hair salons. My big takeaway is that they're they might not be making enough money per client. We got to do a lot of work for them. So I'm kind of rethinking that maybe
Nice.
car dealers or someone that's selling a lot bigger product would make a lot more sense.
No, I love that. And I'm going to have Brian on here real soon, and we're going to do an entire car dealership training for everybody, probably in the next 30 to 45 days. So keep that thought process going, and we'll do our best to help you out. But talk about reputation real quick, and hopefully maybe inspire just not Brian but others about how powerful this is as a standalone product and what people are willing to pay for it.
Well, we don't do many cold calls for it. We hit the salons up with Lead Kahuna and email them out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that consistent thing. We usually send out about 5 emails, and then we get calls or emails start coming in. Right after this, I have a meeting from one we just sent out with someone in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And what are you typically charging for reputation standalone?
We always try to go $1,000 to $1,500 a month.
Just for reputation?
Just for reputation.
And how is that response from a nail salon or a spa? And how are they responding to be able to pay that much money? Because typically they would pay that much money for SEO, meaning ranking and their phone to ring. So what has been your response when you go through the whole process of talking about reputation and why it's important, people making decisions? So that's a pretty big aha moment, because I don't think you were doing that even 6 months ago, were you?
No.
Okay. So give a little bit of the mind shift and just focusing on reputation first, and then charging that amount for just one location.
They usually kind of hem and haw that it's $1,000 and stuff, but I think we kind of try to position ourselves as we know what we're doing. We're doing things that other people aren't doing, as far as talking to them about their reputation and showing the different sites with their bad reviews and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which the Lead Kahuna makes it real easy. And
then how's Reputation Kahuna working? And how's Reputation Kahuna working for you? From that perspective.
I don't have that. I'm kind of have some questions about that. I've been thinking about it.
So you're not even doing reputation. You're not using Reputation Kahuna in monitoring, huh?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Put a support together. We'll help you with that. Well, Trip, thank you for taking lead on that, because it's very rare that most people will. It shouldn't be rare, but just a lot of people have been search for so long. Who else has actually been doing reputation? Real quick, and I get one more person. I have a mic in here. So Roger, let me see if Roger Hawk has got his mic on. Roger, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me okay, David?
Okay, fantastic. So what are you charging just for reputation?
Well, I charge $750 for the initial setup, and then okay. So if they do just reputation, it's $750 and $495 a month for the management of it and all.
Just for reputation.
And,
okay, and then how about Reputation Kahuna? How's that working for you?
Really good. I had a couple of hiccups when they went through the system, and we had a couple of false reports where it would send out a report that.
Yeah, we just did a whole huge upgrade. Yeah, we
but
bugs fixed, but more generally.
But that was easy. Yeah, that was easily explained through. That we were upgrading the system, and I tell you, the plumber that I have, he has 2 reviews online, and he's part of a major national franchise. And the national franchise shut every one of their franchisees down for using SEO and outsourcing and all that, and their own websites and everything like that. So the only thing that he could buy from me was reputation. And so,
that's interesting.
And so I sold him reputation, and when the social media thing came out, oh my goodness, that was great. I am having a little bit of an issue.
So let me make sure I'm getting this right though. So you're saying as soon as we started syndicating to Facebook and Twitter these 5-star reviews, that really opened up the door and got them excited?
No, they were already in, but they had just got in. So when I started posting to their Facebook, I'm having a little bit of an issue getting the actual reviews posted on Google. Google's taking their
that's always an issue. Yeah, that's always an issue.
But because we're syndicating it to the social media, they see instant satisfaction and gratification that there's something being done. So
I love that. So this is a good
that's
offset.
A very big positive.
So it's a big offset, because sometimes when you help them post a review online, but now that they're seeing it posted on social media, it's like, okay, I see results happening here.
Exactly.
Great. Well, thank you for that insight. So, Brian, your thoughts on that? Hearing others charge $750,000?
I know. I mean, well, so David, I pitch reputation as like part of my 4 things that I deliver to the dealer, and I assign a value at $2,500. It's just I've never gone in alone, as a standalone. I think it's awesome. I mean, obviously it's so hot because I don't think anybody in this call would disagree that we make buying decisions based upon reputation, and it affects in a big way.
And David, I do have a car dealer as a client on just reputation.
On just reputation, and what are you charging them, if you don't mind me asking?
Same thing. I 750 it was the initial, and then 495 a month on the.
And 495 a month, great, awesome.
Yep, and,
Well,
and
listen-
what they really wanted it is that they've got all these different programs for driving them to some private. I don't know. The car industry has their own reputation type of a database and everything else.
Mhm.
But as much as they've tried and all the promotions that they've put out and everything else, they can never get people going to online to post positive reviews. So all they have is negative. And so
Right.
when I came in with the system and the postcards and the business cards, and I do my own sheet with their letterhead on the top and everything else, in Word. So if they don't feel comfortable going online and filling this out and they want to write it out, as long as I got paper backup, I don't mind posting the review.
Right. No, that's phenomenal. I think. By the way, you guys want to see something real quick? Everybody interested in kind of seeing the future of a new feature that we're in the middle of developing for reputation? Anybody interested in that real quick? All right, so I gotta let Brian go because we are way past time. But Brian, at least let me show you this because I think.
Yeah, let me see it, and then I got to scat. But this has been a great call. Thanks a lot, David.
Oh my goodness, my pleasure. So let me look up here. Okay, so this can everybody see my screen? Let me show you. So everybody see my screen here? So okay, everybody's under an NDA, right? Nobody can say anything about this. So this is a module. It's not built in right now. It won't be built in for about 30 days, but we're in the middle of the project. So what's going to happen is it will take all the data from your client, so the company name, address, phone number, and everything. And then what it'll do is you can upload an image, and then you click Update Resource, and we're creating what we're calling a media center for you. And so when you can give this link to your customer, or you can just keep it yourself. And as soon as you put the information in, you're going to get a media center that looks like this. So there'll be a video overview about the media center. You'll click on cards, and instantly it'll have their business name, their QR code, a short URL that you can literally download, send to Vistaprint, and print for them. We'll have table tents already done. We'll have stickers for them. We'll have postcards for them. So what's going to happen is you will instantly have different media to go and grab and give them and create for them, all done for you. So one of the things you can talk about is this $1,000 media center that you'll create for them so they can actually go and get reviews. So you won't have to touch a thing. Reputation Kahuna is literally going to do all the media development for you. So all you have to do is either copy and paste a link to them and say, look, we just built your media center for you. Now you can download it. There'll be instructions there. Or you can keep it hidden and you can do it yourself. Now, if that's not an amazing value proposition to go get to help with businesses, so we've got designers and developers building this right now. So I just want to give you the opportunity of just how powerful Reputation is and it being a standalone feature, and as well as coupled with all kinds of other great stuff, like obviously search and SEO. Matter of fact, most of everybody does what Brian does in our elite group that make 6 figures or more. They couple SEO or search with actually Reputation at $2,500 to $3,000 a month. So Brian, your thoughts on what you just saw there?
Man, it's awesome, David. Yeah, that's obviously, I'm excited, so that's cool. I mean, but everything, if you don't have, look, I know David's not going to sit here and brag about his stuff. I've had the privilege of not having to buy a lot of the stuff out there, right? So I've used every tool out there, and I will tell you just what I tell other people. David's are hands down superior. I know I've heard it from people on my list, customers and my own staff. If you don't use Rep Kahuna, if you don't use Lead Kahuna, you probably should. And I'd be surprised if you're in this group and you don't. But if you don't, there's nothing even close. And if you look at that, what happens is David sets the course, and like 6 months later, some other people start copying what he did, and you'll see that happen. Be aware. And 6 months after David comes out with this, people will duplicate something like this. But it's unbelievable. These are the kind of things that I build manually, and I hire people off 99 Designs, and I struggle in this area because I'm horrible at graphics. I know David wouldn't believe that, but it's true. I'm horrible. Anyway, well, look, I got to run out of here, but thanks a lot, David, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, have a great day, and thank you guys for being on the training. Hopefully that's blessed you as much as it blessed me, and you guys take care. We'll see you next Tuesday on the next Sales Mastermind. So guys, have a great week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.